Ladies and gentlemen, the young man that you see on my screen had a very, very bright future ahead of him. When they say that he was a football star, they actually had this young man on the radar of potentially being a person that was going to end up being really good in college football and even potentially greater than that, getting to the NFL level. And they believe they saw that level of talent with this individual that you see right there on my screen. And let me see if I can get his picture back up here. His name is Jaylon McKenzie. Seemed like an awesome kid. I know his family, his friends loved him. His coaches spoke very highly of him. And I was actually very fortunate when I talked about this story. I believe that I don't remember if I talked to her on the phone, but I think I did. But I did get a chance to talk to his mother, and I do want to give her a shout out. But she seemed to be just the sweetest person. I loved her demeanor. I loved her voice, her tone, her strength through all of this, because I know that the family, including the father, and shout out to the father, but I know that they were going through so much. Now, initially, they were having trouble trying to charge people properly for the death of this young man who actually was shot at a house party. And I think I told you guys at the time, I believed that whenever you come into the teenager phase, the teenager age, and when you're in middle school, going into high school, you should be able to attend parties and you should be safe. You ought to be able to attend parties, in a responsible fashion and not have your life threatened. But I think there were a total of 6 suspects who are going to be held accountable for causing this situation to happen. 2 more people have been charged in connection with the death of a budding young football star at a Venice graduation party in 2019. So yeah, this was 2 years ago. The arrest of Shantez R. Fair, who was 22 years old. I don't have a picture of him, but if we get it, maybe I'll throw it in the thumbnail. And Antonio Whitehead, who was 23 years old. And that brings to 6 the number of suspects charged in the shooting death of Jaylon McKenzie, who was 14 years old and had just graduated from middle school when he was hit by a bullet fired blindly into a crowd of people. A 15-year-old girl was also hit, police said at the time, but her name and condition have never been made public, but I think she survived that. Madison County State's Attorney's Office issued the charges against Fair and Whitehead on April 28th, but kept them under seal until recently when the 2 were taken into custody. The pair are charged with aggravated discharge of a firearm, reckless discharge of a firearm, and aggravated unlawful use of a weapon. Fair is being held at the Madison County Jail on a $100,000 bond. Whitehead was released after posting bond. Whitehead was released after posting bond. It's the legal process. I guess it is what it is, man. Among the 4 others facing charges is Jalen Strayton, now 21 years old, and McKenzie's first cousin. Thus far, no one else has been charged with murder. Sakina Gunner, who was the mother, that individual right there, I told y'all she's very sweet. I love her voice. She seemed to be an awesome mother and a wife. But Sakina Gunner, who's McKenzie's mother, said that she won't rest until she gets full justice for her son's murder. But she is grateful to see progress being made and charges being filed. I was like a sigh of relief knowing we were adding 2 more to the list in connection with Jalen's murder. I'm still not satisfied with the charges though, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction. In May, Gunner filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Madison County Circuit Court naming 12 people involved in the party, including the owner of the home where it was held. That's part of it. Whenever you hold a party. So, yeah. Anyway, apart from her nephew, Gunner says she doesn't know the 5 others who were also allegedly involved. I'm praying the suspects will talk, and I want to give more information based on what their involvement was, or it triggers the memory of someone who was there, and they may speak up and tell what they witnessed. Here's the information about the night of the shooting. Though he was still just 14 years old, McKenzie had already drawn the attention of major college football programs. An October 2018 issue of Sports Illustrated, SI, which is a really, really big deal, declared him one of the 6 teens who will rule the future of sports. He transferred from Central Junior High School in Belleville to Mason Clark Middle School, intent to join the football Flyers at East St. Louis High School in the fall. McKenzie had attended a house party at the home of Venice Alderman Celestine Williams. It's spelled Celestine Williams. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. After an 8th grade dance. Gunner said at the time she was told that he was trying to leave when a fight broke out. She said the party was supervised by the homeowner, who called the police and stopped the party. That's part of why I feel like it's a real catch-22 when you try to have a party, but if some shit goes wrong, then you could be held responsible for everything else that everybody else does. And like I said, it's a real gray area how I feel about that. That's when McKenzie was struck by a bullet fired into a crowd, police said. He died shortly after at a area hospital. I think it was random, Gunner told the news in April after her nephew was charged. There was a gang war and activity going on that made the environment really unsafe for everyone else. Gunner said that her son asked his mother to let him hang out with a few of his future football teammates at Eastside. I dropped Jalen off with his friend at about 10 p.m. to hang out with a few friends, she said. He was celebrating with a few teammates in his new future. And again, I told y'all I was perfectly fine with that decision. At some point, when children do want to go out and have these house parties, you can only make them so safe. But at some point, you got to start kind of letting your rope go and start letting the kids start to do some things. Less than an hour later, Gunner received, that is so sad. Less than an hour later, the mother received a call from her oldest son, Brandon Jenkins, who told her he had heard something happen at the party. She jumped in her car, she recalled, and drove around Venice until she saw the flashing lights of the ambulance and police cars. Gunner parked the car and ran down the road towards the house until police stopped her. Then my phone rang, she said. It was a friend telling me that Jalen was in the ambulance and was heading to Gateway Regional Hospital in Granite City. At the hospital, she waited hours and hours before she got the news that no mother ever wants to hear. All I remember is hitting the floor, she said. Gunner had been an active participant in a quest for answers and accountability in addition to working on behalf of her son's memory. She established the Jalen 6 Rising Star Foundation and has held numerous fundraisers to support its programs, including a youth football camp in her son's name. That's beautiful that the mother did that. Still, Gunner says she struggles with the loss and the thought that her son didn't have a chance to live out his bright future. I am struggling, and some days are harder than others. I never thought in a million years I'll be burying my youngest child. It's just not fair. Our plans were unplanned. She says she wants those who have been charged in McKenzie's death and others who participate in thugs with gun violence. We don't call it gun violence. We call it thugs with gun violence. To know the hurt they leave behind. You destroy families. There's no way to get the life back that you took. And if you are caught and arrested, your family loses too. Very true. I am sick and tired of all this thugs with gun violence. I want these killings to stop and anyone who is doing it to be caught and arrested. These killings must stop. And one thing I can tell you is that those individuals probably shared his same skin color. I want y'all to think about that for a moment when we talk about who was our own worst enemy. They usually look just like us. Let's give you the fair usage. Let's look at the news videos. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. I want you guys to remember, we don't call it gun violence, we call it thugs with guns. Let's get it.
A special football camp was held early this morning. The event to honor a young teenager in the Metro East who was getting a lot of national attention, but instead he became a victim of gun violence. News 11's Patrick Clark shows us how his family is
not gun violence, thugs with gun violence.
Honoring Jaylon McKenzie.
Jaylon McKenzie, a promising young athlete who lost his life due to gun violence. Today, his mother honoring him on
thugs with gun violence.
The field that he called his home with a football camp for children. Saturday morning at
And if you guys would, do me a favor. I know our stream cut off earlier. We had some technical difficulty, but I need you guys to click that thumbs up. Please look at the number of people who are watching, and please make the thumbs up reach that number. If you would, please share this video and let more people know that we're live telling this story, okay? So please take a moment, click that thumbs up. Thank you.
Jaycees Park in Belleville. First downs and new memories to honor a teenager who lost his life to gunfire in 2019.
Thugs with gun violence.
I just wanted to do this for the kids, to just have them just come out and have a great time in a safe environment, and just get some experience some of the things that Jalen did while he was coming up. We attended so many camps that I thought that this would be a great give back in his honor.
When he was just 5 years old, Jaylon McKenzie began playing football on this field for the Belleville Little Knights. Jalen was a promising football player, named in an October 2018 issue of Sports Illustrated as one of 6 teens nationwide who will rule the future of sports. Instead, the 14-year-old was struck by a stray bullet at a graduation party in Venice, Illinois, May 4th, 2019. Jalen was killed. Saturday, July 17th, 2021, 2 years after the popular teen was taken too soon, his mother and father, Sakina and Otis Gunner, along with the Jalen 6 McKenzie Rising Star Foundation and volunteers holding this football camp for children ages 6 to 14.
The name says in the foundation he was a rising star. You know, he was already getting offers in 8th grade. I mean, ESPN magazine, so he just wasn't a star just on the field, but he was a star off the field as well. And wherever he went, he was a light.
He was a special kid. I know people talk about how he was on the football field and the basketball court and on the track, but he was actually a better person than he was athlete. Now imagine that. He was an 8th grade All-American. He was an Under Armour All-American, a Hall of Fame All-American 8th grade, and he was a better person. So it says a lot about him.
With former St. Louis Rams running back Arlen Harris running the camp Saturday, the first annual event will return in 2022 to keep Jalen's memory alive.
I know that had he made it to the NFL, that this is something that he would have wanted to do, to host a camp in his neighborhood for his kids, his fans, and all of the people in his community that cheers him on every single day. So while he's not here, they're cheering me on. So he resides within me. So I'm going to do the give back. So I am his voice. I am Jaylon McKenzie, and we're going to have a great time today.
1, 2, 3. Well, Jalen played a lot of games here for the Belleville Mini Knights, and they will return with this event again next year. At the Jaycees Park in Belleville, Patrick Clark, News 11.
an incredible.
All new at 9, the mother of a murdered Metro East 14-year-old calls it a step towards justice. Just days before the 2-year anniversary of the murder of Jaylon McKenzie, criminal charges are now filed. Fox 2's Jeff Bernthal is live from Edwardsville tonight with that mother's plea for more witnesses to please come.
And I want you guys to remember that I think they knew who they wanted to arrest by April, but they waited until they actually caught them, which is why we're just now finding out about this right now. So I just want to throw that out there. This is not a brand new story, but this is an update. This is an official update kind of as we go, okay? All right, let's keep going.
Forward, Jeff.
And Vic, the The charges filed by the Madison County State's Attorney's Office here in Edwardsville do not include a murder charge, but the mother of Jaylon McKenzie is hopeful that eventually they will. As a little kid, Jaylon McKenzie was so excited about football, he would gear up hours before a game.
He had the work ethic, he had the determination, he had the will, he had the skills.
Sports Illustrated would eventually feature McKenzie, naming him one of 6 teens who would rule sports.
He wasn't just a great football player, he was an even better person. He was a phenomenal person. And we're missing his personality, his sense of humor. We're missing all of that every day.
And I told y'all, I got so much respect for the mom. She's kept this demeanor for 2 years. And I just think she's just a sweetheart, man. And her husband is really, really lucky. Because she just seems like just a dope mom. She really does. And I love her voice. She's so, like, she reminds me of just like everything about her says woman and mother. Woman and mother. Just awesome. I really like her, though. I really do.
Every single day in this house.
Jalen was killed by a stray bullet at a house party in 2019. His mother said authorities have now charged several suspects. Authorities tell us they cannot comment because the investigation continues. But 20-year-old Jalen Staton has been charged with aggravated discharge of a firearm, reckless discharge of a firearm, and aggravated unlawful use of weapons. Jalen's mother hopes those charges are only the beginning.
Since we do have some charges, hopefully, the kids that were afraid to talk or afraid to tell, that maybe it'll ease their mind a little bit more to where they will come forward with a little bit more information to help get the charges that we're seeking.
Gunner honored her son's memory by forming a foundation, giving back to others. She says that's what Jalen would have done.
It's really just hard to endure getting up every morning and knowing that my baby's not here. So I just keep fighting every day to live for him and to allow him to live through me.
In a Fox 2 follow-up, 5 suspects now charged. They now face charges, in connection with the shooting death of 14-year-old Jaylon McKenzie. Investigators say McKenzie and a 15-year-old girl were struck by a stray bullet back in 2019 as they left a party in Venice, Illinois. McKenzie at the time was an 8th grade student and a talented football player who was getting attention from colleges and universities, including Mizzou in Illinois. The Madison County State's Attorney announced 22-year-old Shuntaz Fair and 23-year-old Antonio Whitehead face several charges, including reckless discharge of a firearm. Prosecutors charged 2 others in May, and another person was charged a month after the shooting.
Yeah, good morning, Ty. Registration beginning here at 8 o'clock. The camp starting in just under an hour at 9 a.m., going from 9 a.m.
Now they're going to show a little bit more about the camp, and then I have one more video right after this one.
Until noon today. You can see behind me they're getting ready right now, as we said, putting up some signage and whatnot, and we can smell the barbecue. The truck arrived just a little bit ago. This is the Jaylon McKenzie football camp today, happening in Belleville at 750 West H Street. This is to honor Jalen, who was a young man who was murdered, taken too soon. The 14-year-old was attending a graduation party after 8th grade when he was the victim of gunfire. Now, Sports Illustrated magazine had declared Jalen was one of 6 teens who will rule the future of sports, a promising athlete who had a great future ahead of him. Instead, it was taken the other way. His mother this morning putting this camp on in his honor, the Jaylon McKenzie football camp. It's free and open to children ages 6 to 14. Sakina Goner wants to honor her son. They were going to do this last year, but because of the pandemic, they had to postpone that. Instead, they have it ready and will be going starting this morning at 9 a.m. until noon. If you want to take part in this, you have a child who is 6 to 14.
Learning more about charges filed in the shooting death of a Metro East rising superstar.
The news comes on the 2nd anniversary of Jaylon McKenzie's death. Fox 2's Jeff Bernthal is live in East St. Louis, where a community rallied for justice tonight. Jeff.
Yeah, more charges were announced today. They were made public, but they were actually filed some time ago. Now, the mother of Jaylon McKenzie remains very public about her grief in hopes it brings about justice for her son. 2 years later, the tears for Jaylon McKenzie are every bit as real as they were the day his promising life was taken.
He was setting good examples and everything, and just like in the blink of an eye, bam, it was gone.
McKenzie's family remains determined to see justice.
If you know something, do the right thing and say something, speak up, because if they struck one time, they'll strike again. They're dangerous.
3 suspects, Jalen Staton, Larian Shelby, and Maurice Dickerson, are all charged in connection with McKenzie's death and face a variety of weapons charges.
Although they've been charged, we need a conviction. You know, they haven't been charged with murder.
Gunner organized a rally calling for justice for Jaylon. Shondell Williams still mourns the loss of her son, Sean, and hopes Gunner will find justice.
Now, they're not going to get a murder charge because their intent wasn't to hit him, which is reckless discharge of a firearm. They're not going to get a murder charge, but I definitely hope that they get charges that are strong enough to keep those fools in prison for until we forget about them, to be honest.
Looking at her and just seeing how she's pushing forward and still continuing to fight every day for justice for her son is phenomenal. And most people wouldn't understand, unless you were a grieving parent, the effort that it takes to accomplish that.
McKenzie was a rising superstar who even caught the eye of Sports Illustrated.
Everybody knows him as an excellent football player, but he was an excellent young man. He was humble.
Family members hope witnesses scared to come forward will end their silence after seeing how much pain McKenzie's family continues to feel.
I don't want anybody else to have to endure the pain, the suffering, the dark nights, all of the things that parents, grieving mothers, grieving families have to endure when someone senselessly takes their child's life. I don't want that to happen to anybody else.
Jaylon McKenzie's memory lives on through a foundation his mother started after his death. It helps college-bound students in the Metro East. Now, investigators say they can't comment on this case because it does continue. Reporting from East St. Louis, Jeff Bernthal, Fox 2 News.
And I want y'all to remember that I said it. If you see something, say something. And I want y'all to also remember that the mom said it in her one of her interviews there, which I think is a good thing. But the more that people actually report this thing, like, I don't understand why people would want to be okay with just living around people who are dangerous and put people's lives at risk, especially when something like this has been done. Their responsibility at that point is to absolutely report what they saw. It doesn't make you a snitch or anything like that. Like I said, I think these kids and these young folks should understand that and really get over this really, really bad mantra that they have in the hood. It don't make you less cool to make where you live at safer. It actually makes you quite ignorant if you want to continue to live in a violent environment. One of the simplest things that you could do is to step up and at least put the people behind bars who are responsible for making effed up choices, ruining what people perceive your environment to be like, your neighborhood, your family, your friends, creating stereotypes against you that might not be true. And we have opportunities, and we have plenty of opportunities to break this curse. And I want us to continue to keep working to break that. And I hope that this mother gets justice. Again, shout out to her. And this is still just one more step in the right direction. And I hope that everybody who was responsible for this gets held accountable. Thank you guys so much for listening with an open mind and an open heart. Hope Jalen gets justice. R.I.P. Young Prince. We hope that all of those people get everything, and anybody else who might be responsible, we hope they get everything that they deserve. Thank you guys so much for listening to this stream, and we'll see you guys on the next stream. Y'all have a great day. Love your kids, love your neighbors, love your neighborhood, love your cities, and represent. That's how you be the AFC. Be the change that you want to see. All right? From my heart to yours, I love you all. Thank y'all so much for listening. We'll see you on the next stream. Thank you.